Hey there. Just looking at some of your projects you turned in, I thought it would be helpful to give you just a really quick introduction to the Pratt Picture Window, because a lot of times, what I'll get, and I won't be docking points for this, but screenshots aren't always the best looking way of doing things. And also, if you have, for example, if we wanted to talk about, if you didn't see this text grid here, right? Let's say you have something that looks like this and you have all of your formants showing, you have the pitch showing. Uh, this, especially if it gets printed out in black and white or something, would be kind of hard to see, and there's a lot of unnecessary noise. And let's say we want to talk about the D, the. This is a recording of me saying nada with an up with a question intonation. If you just wanted to talk about the, it's not really great to assume that the reader is going to know exactly where the is. So maybe we'd want to include the text grid. Or maybe we would want to just have the spectrogram by itself and have the pitch contour not on top of the spectrogram. So you can do basically mostly anything you can think of in the Pratt Picture Window. So I'm going to close this here. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention, since we were talking about extracting audio, the way I got this audio, I had a slightly longer one here. I just selected this and I went to File, Extract Selected Sound. It's as easy as that. You just can save it as a WAV file. So, okay, looking at this again. Okay, this Pratt Picture Window. Basically, the way it works is you can select an area to draw in, and then you issue a command to draw. That's pretty much it. So to get started, there's some more details I'll go through. Let's just draw the spectrogram. Let me set it back to the default by pressing standard. It'll erase everything that was in there first. It'll write the name, untitled, up top here. It'll draw selection times. It'll draw selection hairs, as in, let's say, yeah, you can see these selected dotted lines. It'll draw those, and it'll garnish. So it'll add a box around it. It'll add stop and start times. It'll add the range from 0 to 5,000 hertz. So let's do that. So yeah, that's what we got. Here's the selection time. Here's the other selection time, the range, untitled, the frequency, hertz. Time shows you what, so it shows you what all these things are. Not pretty good for defaults. If I like this, I can go here and save it. I like saving it as a PDF file, get better quality, or a PNG file, or an EPS file, which is an old school format. Just drag that sucker into your Word document. And you could pretty much stop here. But let's say we wanted to do what I wanted to do earlier. I'll erase it by going to Edit, Erase All. Let's say I wanted to do what we were talking about earlier. Before we do that, another quick one that would be useful is just, if you have a text grid already and you have the pitch contour, you could just draw the pitch and the text grid together. Again, erase first, show boundaries and points. Speckle it would draw it as dots instead of a line. Let's just not write a name. And let's not draw the selection hairs. And that's what we get. I guess it did draw it drew the times for the text grid. And yeah, that would be more useful if you were just talking about the pitch. Now, really quickly, let's say I want the pitch to still be another color because I just think it looks nicer. Let's undo that. Now with the text grid, okay, I'm going to think what order I should show you this. Okay, I'll show you this now. So basically, anything you can do in these editor windows, you can do here in the object window. And part of that is because you can write Pratt scripts as in a program that will automatically do a bunch of repetitive things for you. And you can do anything you can do in here and more using these commands. So let's say I want to draw the text grid in this area. I'll select the text grid here and look for draw. And I'll draw it. I can have draw with pitch or draw with sound. So I guess the reason I'm going to do this separately, I'll just draw it first and then draw the pitch afterwards, is because now I can just draw the pitch by itself and change the color. So let's go to pen. Oops. Let's pick a really outrageous color. Purple. Oh my goodness. And go back to this. draw the pitch. And we're not going to do it with the text grid. We'll just draw the pitch contour. We're not going to erase first, or it'll erase everything we already have. And okay, that was not what I wanted because it drew it on top of this. So I'll change my selection area. Draw it in there. Okay, looking better. So now we have the slight issue of we don't know what the numbers are on the side. We don't know what the range of the pitch is that's being shown. So we can add it all ourselves. So you can go to margins and you can draw, you can do all kinds of things that you can specify exactly how things were drawn. So I just added an inner box to surround the area we drew in. Text left, let's make it say pitch hertz. Okay, it's going to show up here. Another word of the warning, if you want to change the font for whatever the font size, I would do it before you draw because it kind of messes everything up. So change the font size first, then start drawing pitch and everything. Let's add the ticks so it knows it's 0 to 500. Let's go to marks. Well, this marks left every. This will change how often it marks. I would probably not mess with that. I mean, you can mess with it, but the easiest way, stupid mouse, is to go to margins, marks, and add the marks left this way. So it'll write the numbers, draw the ticks, and draw dotted lines. It'll do 6 of them because I think it was what, 0 to 75 to 300. Let's see. So yeah, it drew 6 ticks from 75 to 300. And the last thing I want to be clear on. Okay, so this would be a decent picture. You could totally include this. The last thing you want to know is, well, first of all, just remember you can start adding things. You can draw your own, you can draw a freaking rectangle, you can plot things, you can plot a function, you can do a lot of things with this. But the thing that took me a little bit of work to understand is whenever we draw something like a spectrogram, it creates its own margins and it changes the axes. So if you go down here to axes, it changed it to what the axes were for this pitch that we drew. 75 hertz to 300 hertz, and now left it goes from 0.63 to 1.08. So now everything we draw after that, that's going to be the dimensions it's going to use, which can kind of mess things up. Let's say I want to add a title to the top. If I probably don't want to be doing math and deciding what point is the middle point between these, so I'm just going to change it to 0 and 1 and 0 and 1. Okay, and now if I want to add a title, let's go to world, go to text special. Text special gives you more control. Now here I can position, understanding that it's going from 0 to 1 and 0 to 1. I can position my text exactly where I want it. So let's put it in the middle, horizontal, 50%. We'll have it, yeah, so this will determine how the text is aligned to these points that you choose. Vertical position, let's put it at the top, see what it looks like. Let's put the font size of 16, a little bit bigger. And we'll say pitch contour of nada. And, well, it's still purple, and it's not exactly where I wanted it. So let's undo that. And do it again. It saves your last save. Well, let's change the pen back to black. Text special. Vertical alignment, we can say bottom. So let's try that. Yeah, not bad. So, I picked okay. So you can mess with those different things and get a picture that you like. Select all of this. And again, when you select save, it's only going to save what you selected. So select the whole picture. You can save that. You can drop it in there. You could have stopped listening to this video a long time ago, but to get into slightly more details. So again, I just think the most important thing to realize is draw everything. If I'm going to draw a spectrogram and I want to mess with the margins, do it right after drawing it. because Praat sets the margins to the correct numbers initially. Then if I want to start tinkering around with it, I would just set the axes to 0 and 1, and it's very intuitive to position things where I want them or where you want them. And the last thing I was going to talk about for you guys is, again, I was saying you can select any of these things and you can do anything you can do in here from the object menu. Sometimes it gives you more options. So let's say if we went to sound, well, first of all, let's extract, let's say if I wanted to mess again with the pitch. You can go to Analyze Periodicity to Pitch, and it's going to create a pitch object. And this is its own separate thing. It has all kinds of information that you could mess with in the future. But it gives you way more draw options. You can semitones, draw it in mels, which are, the relative measure of how we hear it. Just something to know about. Last thing to know about, very last thing, is that in Praat, you can automate all of these things. So if it took me a little while to get this, let's say I want to make like 5 of these suckers. You can go to Praat, open a new Praat script, which is just a list of commands that Praat understands. So you would basically be programming. Sorry, that was not on purpose. And Praat has this nice feature where you can go to Edit and you can go to Paste History. And all the commands that you've run, it's going to have them saved. So I could copy and paste from all of these things. Oh, again, this is a ton of things, but let's say I do all of the commands I need to do just to draw this picture. You can paste that here and save them as a text file, and then you can run it. So if I did run, it would run all of these commands again. So something to know. And I think that's it. So hopefully this is helpful. I don't think it's that's hard to deal with. Just play with it. Having a nice graphic is, it's just a nice feeling. All right, see you later.